The Soviet sniper was not just a soldier with a rifle. He was a hunter, observer, record keeper, and sometimes a half-frozen ghost in the mud. And yes, the equipment was often simple because the Red Army preferred gear that worked instead of gear that looked expensive and cried in bad weather. First, we have the Mosin-Nagant M1895/30 with PU scope, which became the classic Soviet sniper rifle of World War II. It fired the 7.62 by 54R cartridge and used a 5-round internal magazine, with the PU optic giving a compact 3.5 power sight picture. It was not fancy, but it was rugged, accurate enough for battlefield sniping, and easy to keep alive under conditions that would make delicate rifles reconsider their life choices. Next in the list is the Mosin-Nagant M1891/30 with PE scope. This earlier sniper configuration used larger pre-war optical sights, including PE and PEM type scopes, before the simpler PU system became more common. It gave a better optical presence than the later PU in some ways, but it was heavier, more complex, and exactly the kind of thing wartime production likes to quietly remove. Next, we have the SVT-40 sniper variant, which was the Soviet attempt to give snipers a semi-automatic rifle. It fired the same 7.62 by 54R cartridge and used a 10-round detachable magazine, usually loaded with stripper clips or magazines, depending on the situation. On paper, faster follow-up shots sounded wonderful, but in the field, accuracy, consistency, and maintenance demands made the Mosin look boring in the best possible way. Continuing with the Tokarev TT-33 pistol, this compact Soviet semi-automatic sidearm chambered in 7.62 by 25 Tokarev. It used an 8-round magazine and was issued mainly to officers, specialists, and some troops who needed a smaller personal weapon. For a sniper, it was not the main tool, obviously, because trying to solve sniper problems with a pistol is how bad decisions get promoted. Next in the list is the Nagant M1895 revolver. This 7-shot revolver was old by World War II, but it remained in Soviet service because it was simple, available, and already everywhere. Its gas seal cylinder system was mechanically unusual, which is a polite way of saying the design was clever, slow, and very Russian in its stubbornness. Next, we have the RGD-33 grenade. This Soviet hand grenade was a pre-war and early war design with a detachable fragmentation sleeve that could change its effect depending on configuration. It was heavier and more complicated than later grenades, which is never ideal when a soldier already carries half his life on a belt. Continuing with the F1 grenade, this was the Soviet defensive fragmentation grenade, often nicknamed the Limonka. It had a cast body and was intended for use from cover because fragmentation weapons are not famous for respecting optimism. A sniper would not always carry one, but when operating near forward positions, grenades could be issued for emergency defense. Next in the list is the sapper knife NR40. The NR40, often called the Scout knife, was introduced in 1940 and became associated with reconnaissance troops, scouts, and some specialized Red Army personnel. It was a practical combat and utility knife, not a magic movie blade, despite what dramatic thumbnails might suggest. Now we move into equipment, and first we have the Amoeba sniper suit, often connected with Soviet disruptive camouflage clothing. These suits used irregular camouflage patterns to break up the body shape, especially in woodland, field, and mixed terrain. The term berezka is often used for later Soviet patterns, so for World War II accuracy, it is safer to describe this as an amoeba-style Soviet camouflage suit, not a modern fantasy costume. Next in the list is the SSH-40 steel helmet. The SSH-40 became one of the main Red Army combat helmets during World War II, with a steel shell and a simplified liner system compared with earlier designs. Snipers didn't always love wearing helmets while stalking, but artillery fragments didn't care about anyone's aesthetic preferences. Next, we have the Telogreika padded jacket. This quilted Soviet jacket was a vital cold weather garment, especially on the Eastern Front, where winter was not weather, it was an enemy combatant. It was simple, warm, mass-produced, and much more useful than looking stylish while freezing. Continuing with the Shapka-Ushanka winter hat. This fur or wool-lined winter cap protected the ears and head in severe cold, and it became one of the most recognizable Soviet winter items. A sniper lying still in snow needed warmth as much as marksmanship, because even the best shot becomes useless when his fingers stop taking orders. Next in the list is Valenki, felt boots for winter. Valenki were traditional felt boots used in deep cold, especially where dry snow and freezing temperatures made leather boots miserable. They were not ideal in wet mud, but in hard winter conditions they could save feet, and feet are rather important when retreating, advancing, or simply surviving. Next we have Kirza boots for summer. Kirza was a Soviet artificial leather material widely used for military boots because it was cheaper and easier to produce than full leather. These boots were practical, durable enough for mass service, and very clearly designed by a system that cared more about quantity than comfort. Continuing with the sniper veil. A veil or face covering helped reduce shine, soften the outline of the head, and conceal movement around the rifle and face. It was not invisibility, but in sniping, even small visual breaks mattered, because the enemy only needed one mistake to start asking questions with artillery. Next is the camouflage cape. A Soviet sniper could use a cape, cloak, or improvised camouflage cover to blend into snow, grass, ruins, or forest edges. These pieces were often adapted to local terrain because the front did not politely match factory color charts. Next, we have the rifle scope case. PU and earlier scope systems could be carried with protective cases or covers to guard the optic from impact, dirt, and moisture. A scope was one of the most valuable parts of a sniper's kit, so treating it like a loose spoon in a bread bag would be deeply stupid. Continuing with spare scope lenses. Spare optical parts, covers, or lens protection could be important for maintaining visibility through dust, snow, and battlefield grime. Actual issue varied, but Soviet snipers understood that a dirty optic turns a precision rifle into a very dramatic stick. Next is the ammunition pouches. Mosin-Nagant rifle ammunition was commonly carried in pouches holding stripper clips for the 7.62 by 54R cartridge. For a sniper, ammunition was not just weight, it was carefully managed supply, because firing too much was a wonderful way to announce your exact location. Next, we have shooting gloves. Cold weather gloves helped protect the hands while still allowing controlled handling of the rifle and trigger. This sounds basic until you remember that Soviet snipers often worked in snow, ruins, forests, and open fields where numb fingers could ruin everything. Now we move into field equipment, and first we have the canteen. The Soviet canteen was a simple water container, commonly carried with a cover or in a field pouch, depending on type and period. It was not glamorous, but dehydration has defeated plenty of men who thought only bullets deserved attention. Next in the list is the mess kit. The Soviet mess kit allowed soldiers to carry, receive, and eat rations in the field. For a sniper working forward of the main line, a compact food container mattered because restaurant service near enemy trenches was famously poor. Next, we have the entrenching tool. A small shovel or entrenching tool helped dig firing positions, scrape cover, improve concealment, and prepare shallow shelters. It was one of the least exciting items on the list, which naturally means it was one of the most useful. Continuing with the bread bag. The Soviet soldier's bread bag or field bag carried rations, personal items, small tools, and whatever else had to survive the day. It was called a bread bag, but like most soldier bags, it quickly became a portable museum of useful misery. Next in the list is the gas mask. Red Army troops were issued gas masks because chemical warfare remained a feared possibility, even though it was not widely used on the Eastern Front in World War II. The mask and bag were extra weight, but armies are very good at making soldiers carry equipment for threats that may never arrive. Now we move into sniper-specific equipment, and first we have the sniper's personal record book. Soviet snipers often recorded shots, claimed results, observations, distances, and training progress in notebooks or unit records. These records supported discipline and propaganda value because the Red Army loved both practical data and a good heroic number. Next in the list is the binoculars issued to snipers. Binoculars were valuable for spotting movement, reading terrain, and observing enemy positions without constantly pointing the rifle. Not every sniper had a perfect optical kit, but when available, binoculars made the sniper more of an observer and less of a man guessing through a tiny scope. Next we have the periscope trench viewer. A trench periscope allowed observation over cover without fully exposing the head, which was very useful in static fronts, urban fighting, and prepared positions. It was not carried by every sniper on every mission, but for observation work, it solved the classic problem of wanting to see without donating your forehead to history. Now we move into personal items, and first we have dog tags. Soviet identity discs were used for personal identification, although practices and actual use could vary across the war. They were small, grim, and important because even in a vast army, a soldier was still supposed to have a name. So, every item a Soviet sniper carried tells a different part of the same story. The rifle got the attention, but the clothing, optics, records, food kit, and field tools kept the sniper alive long enough to matter. That is the uncomfortable truth. Sniping was not just marksmanship. It was patience, concealment, observation, discipline, cold hands, bad food, and a shocking amount of dirt. And that is why the Soviet sniper kit still fascinates historians today. It was not luxurious, and it was not always standardized, but it was built around survival, mass war, and a battlefield where the man who stayed unseen often became the most dangerous man in the sector.